Okay, right. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us in this artist sharing in the afternoon of Deepavali. And we also have some guests with us. So just to join us hearing the artists talk about their works. So perhaps an introduction about this Rewang exhibition, how it began between me and Kak Mas and Abang Jeff also. So how it began was we wanted to do, an exhibition that brings artists together through the spirit of Rewangness, And as a community, we haven't been having this physical exhibition for a long time. I think more than 1 year since COVID. And really thankful that everyone is able to join us. All the generations of artists, 3 generations of us here, and I hope, in the future there will be more exhibitions like this happening, right? Yeah. So, do you want to add on to the introduction?
Okay. So Jeff and I are happy to host this art show lah. And the name also is timely Rewang, because memang semua orang dah rindu having a physical show. So that was how the name came about. So like we were discussing, what should we name it and all that. So true enough, some of the works pun follow that theme of Rewang. So I think that is a good start. And hopefully there's interest for Rewang too. And to continue, maybe it will be an apart, besides contemporary, so you have Rewang, and nice that it kicked off at this point in time. So I think this artist sharing also is more like just spending time among the Rewang artists to talk about the works and how you feel about this show, and so maybe we could start.
Okay, so perhaps maybe we'll spend, each artist can spend about 5 minutes to talk about their work and what they think about this exhibition so far. So perhaps I will pass this mic to Pak Idris. So maybe Pak Idris nak ceritakan about your artwork and the exhibition lah.
Lukisan saya ialah sebuah lukisan watercolor, iaitu cat air, dan lukisannya adalah lukisan yang dilukis secara spontan di tempat. Dan lukisan itu saya buat 3 buah lukisan. Yang pertama lukisan Fort Canning, yang kedua lukisan botanical garden, yang ketiga pun botanical garden, dan ketiga-tiganya saya buat di tempat tu. Saya mengambil masa dalam 1 hari untuk sebuah lukisan, dan 3 buah lukisan 3 harilah saya siapkannya di tempat tersebut. Jadi itulah hasilnya yang saya pamerkan buat hari ini untuk pameran Rewang. Dan yang selanjutnya saya belum buat lagi lah. Itu yang pada hari ini lah.
Pak Idris, boleh ceritakan how your process lah dalam satu artwork tu, macam mana Pak Idris visualize artwork tu kemudian ditransfer pada watercolor tu. Boleh ceritakan sikit proses dia?
Proses bermulaannya saya harus pergi mencari tempatnya tu dengan melihat keadaan di sana, di manakah yang pemandangan yang sesuai untuk pandangan mata saya lah. Jadi saya sudah ke sana dan saya merhatikan beberapa tempat daerah tu, dan saya nampak satu bahagian yang menarik bagi saya, dan di situlah saya duduk dan mulakan saya punya sketch dulu, dengan pensel. kemudian tu baru saya mulakan dengan cat air saya. Dan saya teliti dulu dengan cari angle yang mana yang menarik, ya, cahayanya yang menarik, baru saya tetap di tempat itu. Dari mula sampai akhir saya tak berubah sampai lukisannya siap. Itu prosesnya lah. Begitu juga yang kedua-dua lukisan pun serupa.
Dalam satu lukisan berapa lama Pak Idris?
Lukisan tu saya persiapkan semuanya siap dalam 1 hari.
Satu
hari.
lukisan 1 hari.
Satu lukisan 1 hari saya siapkan. Cuma saya berhenti berehat untuk makan aja lah dalam masa setengah jam gitu. Kemudian saya sambung balik sampai ke pukul 6 petang. Semuanya siap, komplit semua siap. Dan saya berpuas hatilah dengan bentuk lukisan yang dilukis tu. Ya. Jadi itulah hasilnya. Ya. Jadi kemudian keesokan harinya saya datang buat yang kedua, gitu, yang ketiga.
Pada pandangan Pak Idris, lukisan watercolour ni ada pada masa hadapan lah, macam mana pergerakan watercolour ni?
Pergerakan watercolour masa hadapan.
Masa hadapan.
Ya, buat masa ini saya dapati lukisan cat air ni kurang dapat sambutan daripada pelukis-pelukis Melayu kita. Kurang sangatlah. Jarang sekali lah. Bukan tak ada yang melukis watercolour, ada, tapi kurang menonjol lah. Jadi saya berharaplah masa akan datang generasi baru yang mungkin dapat teruskan lukisan cat air ni. Jadi kita tidak ada hilanglah
sejarah dia.
Sejarah watercolour ni bagi pelukis Melayu lah. Kita jangan cakap bangsa asing lah. Memang bangsa asing dah banyak. Tapi yang Melayu kurang sekali. Jadi saya harap ada pelapis baru yang boleh menyambung lukisan cat air ni daripada orang yang lama kepada orang yang baru untuk meneruskanlah karya cat air ni.
InsyaAllah. Okay, last question. Apa pandangan Pak Idris tentang exhibition seperti Rewang?
Pameran yang Rewang ni saya dapati sungguh menarik. Ya. Dianya berbagai-bagai. Ya. Ada cat air, ada akrilik, ada oil. Ya. Dan juga bermacam-macam subjek yang ada saya lihat di sini. Semuanya berbeza-beza lah. Tapi memang sungguh menarik lah. Ya. Juga ada karya installation saya dapati itu yang terbaru, nampak. Ini satu pembaruan jugalah untuk lah. Saya harap kita akan terus maju lagi lah.
InsyaAllah. Okay, terima kasih Pak Idris.
Sama-sama.
Okay, perhaps now we can pass to Cik Saiman. So Cik Saiman nak talk about your work. You can speak in Malay or English, and then about the overall exhibition.
Okay. Salam sejahtera. Saya Saiman Ismail. Mana dalam pameran Rewang ini walaupun berbagai macam genre yang ada, tapi bagi saya Rewang nampaknya semangat Rewang tu ada di kalangan anggota kita. Ini kerjasama kita semua. Jadi bercakap tentang karya saya bermulakan dengan titik, garis dan ruang. Juga saya terapkan dengan warna-warna alam itu pada yang mengilhamkan alam sekitaran kita dalam kehidupan ni. Jadi bermulanya saya dengan itu titik, garis, orang lidi. Ya, dalam orang lidi, lalu kepada bentuk-bentuk dalaman saya, kepercayaan saya pada zikirullah. Ya. Lalu garisan-garisan itu kita dapat lihat tentang satu kehidupan alam dan kalimah-kalimah zikir saya terapkan juga. Sebagai satu kata orang tu terapi minda. Ya, saya ada 3 buah lukisan terapi minda 1, 2 dan 3. Yang satu tu ini Maha Suci Allah, Subhanallah, di mana saya sekian lama saya memang saya dalam keadaan yang amat betul-betul dalam kesedihan lah sebenarnya, dan saya hilangkan diri lah ya, buat sementara, tapi lepas tu saya bangkit semula lah. Derita dalam tawa sebenarnya, menceritakan tentang kehidupan saya ini masa lampau, di mana menghadapi tentang kemurungan seorang isteri, seorang adik yang telah kembali ke rahmatullah. Jadi saya rasa murung, saya rasa macam satu kehilangan yang amat besar. Berbalik kepada itulah kalimah-kalimah kepercayaan pada diri saya, dalaman saya lahirkan. Dia dapat dilihatlah kalimah itu, walaupun secara abstrak, tapi itulah yang dapat kata orang tu menghidupkan jiwa saya untuk kata orang tu terus hidup, terus maju, terus berkarya, terus aktif, dan saya tidak mahu layan ini apa yang saya alami, kesedihan itu. Saya menampakkan warna-warna yang suatu keceriaan sebenarnya, tapi di sebalik keceriaan itu adalah banyak yang saya lalui kedukaan. Saya step down juga daripada kegiatan ini disebabkan saya tidak ada masa untuk berkarya. Dan itu saya bangkit semula sekarang atas dorongan juga daripada kawan-kawan dan saudara mara saya untuk terus berkarya. Dan juga menggarap minda saya untuk terus aktif, untuk berfikir, tidak melalui perasaan, tapi melalui intellectuality, untuk terus tentu menghasilkan karya-karya selanjutnya, insyaAllah. Dan dapat dilihat ini garisan-garisan tu daripada titik, garis, lalu pada ruang, mengisi ruang. Satu garisan tu kepada garisan yang lain tu berinteraksi. Warna daripada satu warna ke warna yang lain juga berinteraksi di antara satu sama lain. Dapat dilihat. Tapi itu bukan mudah lah untuk kita buatkan color separation on this untuk melahirkan dan di sebalik warna-warni itu kita dapat lihat pada kalimah-kalimah, ya. Kalau yang pertama itu nampak subhanallah, ini maha suci Allah, terang. Itu bermulanya saya melahirkan zikirullah. Lalu kepada yang kedua itu lebih pada abstrak, abstrak. Ini kalimah Allah, di mana kepercayaan kita sebagai seorang. Dan karya yang ketiga itu wal asri, demi masa. Jadi kalau saya nak kata tu elaborate satu persatu ni amat kata tu luas lah. Tapi kalau tahu kalimah-kalimah itu, di sebalik kalimah itu makna dia yang selalunya kita amalkan. Dan juga dalam Rewang juga tu, setiap majlis yang kita nak adakan, terutama kita orang Islam, kita akan bermula dengan kalimah-kalimah Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, semua untuk menjauhi daripada kesukaran. Harapan kita dipermudahkan majlis itu untuk bergerak sama, bergotong royong. Itu di sebalik tertentu. Kalau nak cakap tentang Rewang tu juga, merewang juga boleh jadi satu makna yang lain, merewang. Kalau tak silap saya lah, ini macam merapu, merapu, merawang fikiran tu, selain daripada Rewang dalam bahasa Jawa itu, ini kita bergotong royong dalam suatu majlis, kenduri ataupun perkahwinan. Itu yang setahu saya lah. Wallahu a'lam. Itu yang dapat saya terangkan. Ada lain?
Okey. Terima kasih sebab kasih lebih pengetahuan tentang Rewang kan. Jadi kita pun mengertilah makna Rewang tu ada berbagai kan. Not
boleh
just
kata merapu juga merapu. Pun boleh ya.
So antara bergotong royong dengan fikiran lah, diinterpretasikan dalam your artwork lah. Saya nak tanya satu, dalam pemilihan warna Cik Simon, kenapa Cik Simon pilih warna yang striking lah?
Ya, bagaimana saya katakan tu, dalam temurun ada warna-warna yang kata-kata gloomy tapi sedikit. Jadi saya cuba membangkitkan semangat saya dengan suasana keceriaan. Saya tidak mau tunjukkan kemurungan. Jadi warna-warna keceriaan yang saya tunjukkan. Jadi, yang di mana saya dapat inspirasi juga pada sekitaran kehidupan kita. Ada lagi? Kalau sekiranya ada beberapa komen, silakan.
Ada sesiapa nak komen? Okey, nantilah Q&A session nanti mungkin kita boleh berbalas-balas.
Kalau sekiranya ada kadang teguran, saya terima. Pedas atau tak pedas, saya boleh terima. Very positif, tapi secara yang konstruktif.
Yalah. Okay, terima kasih Cik Simon.
Sama.
Berkongsi your artwork details lah kan. Okay, maybe we want to pass to Cik Abu Jalal Sarimon. You can talk about your work a bit. Maybe add on to why your work responds to the exhibition itself.
Okay, boleh. Assalamualaikum semua. Salam sejahtera. selamat bercuti. Lukisan saya bila subjek atau topik rewang diketengahkan, saya sentiasa mengambil jalan mudah. Saya mengambil subjek rewang tu dan saya melalui dengan kembara saya sebagai anak muda pada waktu tu, di mana dalam peringkat umur 14, 15, 16 cukup sibuk kita merewang. Sebenarnya saya mula merewang sejak umur 12 tahun lagi. Saya suka bercampur gaul dengan orang-orang yang lebih dewasa daripada saya, abang-abang kan, makcik-makcik, dan kerana saya juga gemar bersukan, main sepak takraw, main badminton dengan abang-abang. Jadi bila ada saja majlis walimah, kita selalu dijemput oleh tuan rumah tu, kerana setahu kita kan, bila kita rewang dia perlukan kaki tangan untuk, pertama ialah untuk cuci pinggan, kedua untuk cuci gelas, ketiga untuk angkat pinggan, keempat angkat gelas, kelima tukang serving, keenam cuci periuk dan berbagai-bagai lagi. Dan sebelum itu kita diperlukan tenaga yang banyak untuk membersihkan padang. Kalau rumput rampai kita nak kena tebang, nak kena cari batang pisang, nak kena hias kemah, nak kena pasang kemah dan sebagainya. Jadi di situ bila subjek rewang diberikan kepada saya, yang jelas bagi saya ialah rewang itu ialah sifat gotong royong yang sedia ada, yang semula jadi ada pada masyarakat Melayu. Itu adalah satu nilai ataupun values yang cukup tinggi dalam masyarakat Melayu yang kita tidak harus ambil ringan. Kita harus ambil ini sebagai satu nilai yang begitu tinggi bagi kita yang tidak ada pada bangsa lain. Kerana gotong royong itulah Melayu. Dan kalau kita lihat perkataan gotong royong sampai sekarang, kerana nilainya begitu tinggi, negara Singapura juga kenal akan perkataan gotong royong itu sebagai satu perkataan yang bernilai tinggi yang boleh diterapkan kepada bangsa atau rakyat Singapura. Jadi kita lihat banyak ada politikus, ada politician yang menggunakan ungkap gotong royong untuk mengajak orang ramai saling bantu membantu. Dan the magic yang perkataan cukup majis tu kan. Jadi saya lahirkan sebuah karya. Bagi saya karya yang cukup simple tapi bermakna. Dan bila orang melihat karya saya, orang akan faham. Saya tak perlu ada di sana, di mana orang boleh melihat karya itu dan karya saya dengan sendirinya akan berkata-kata seolah-olah berkomunikasi dengan para penonton dan mereka akan menghargai lukisan itu. Maka terakhirlah lukisan yang saya judulkan sebagai makan ambeng bersama pengantin selepas rewang. Itu adalah sesuatu yang agak sinonim, sesuatu yang sangat istimewa bagi saya kerana itulah yang saya alami pada waktu itu. Di mana bila teman kita atau ada saudara mara yang akan mendirikan rumah tangga, dia akan cari kita. Aku nak kahwin bulan depan tau. Kau boleh tolong aku tak rewang? Boleh lah, tapi ada satu syarat lah. Apa dia? Lepas kita rewang, kita penat-penat belanja kita nasi ambeng lah. Selalunya orang akan agree lah. Pasal nasi ambeng tu special. Okey, nasi biryani, nasi minyak is nothing really waktu kahwin, pasal banyak. Tapi nasi ambeng tu kalau kita lihat pada zaman dulu, pada zaman 80-an atau 70-an, mungkin kita makan Maulud Nabi atau kenduri kendara rumah orang-orang kaya lah kan. Kerana nak masak dia tu leceh dan tukang masak yang boleh masak ni mesti nak betul-betul pandai masak. Jadi itu adalah satu keistimewaan yang ada dan saya terapkan dalam karya saya, dan saya harap nasi ambeng yang sekarang diorang enjoy atau diorang suka makan sebagai satu juadah yang cukup istimewa dari bangsa Melayu atau bangsa Jawa atau dari kita sendiri kan, dia akan menjadi kalau kita letakkan di dinding sebagai sebuah karya, dia akan memberi semacam peringatan atau satu nostalgic atau satu memori yang indah, di mana bapa-bapa atau ibu-ibu yang berada di peringkat 70-an 80-an dapat bercerita dengan atau berkongsi cerita dengan anak-anak muda tentang bagaimana keindahan ataupun kekuatan nasi ambeng tu ada bukan sebagai satu juadah yang enak, malahan dia memberi nilai-nilai tersendiri yang menggalakkan persaudaraan, yang menggalakkan contohnya nasi ambeng. Bila kita makan 4 orang kan, betul tak? Dan kalau kita lihat sebenarnya persaudaraan cukup kuat. Kalau kita duduk satu kampung, kita kenal tahu siapa yang makan dengan kita. Contohnya dia tu gemuk, kita tu ada kuat makan tau, dia suka makan ayam tau. Sampai kita makan, kita bagian kita ada ayam. Kadang-kadang kerana kita tahu dia suka makan ayam, dan dia pula orang miskin jarang makan ayam, kita tolak ayam tu pada dia, biar dia makan ayam lebih. Macam gitu. Kalau kita tahu dia suka makan bagdil kan, kita ambil berkedil sikit kita makan, yang lain kita kasih pada orang yang suka makan bagdil. Jadi di situ ada nilai persahabatan yang begitu kukuh. Tak boleh tipunya, dia tak boleh borak, tak boleh bedek. Apa yang dia buat kita akan tahu. Kemudian contohnya kalau kita tahu dia daripada golongan miskin, kita makan kita dah bagi 4. Tapi yang ada orang tak makan, dia makan sikit, yang lain dia simpan, dia nak bawa pada adik-beradik dia makan kat rumah nanti. Untuk diberi. Tapi bila kita teman-teman kita nampak macam gitu kan. Kau ambil ni semua, kasihlah adik-beradik kau makan, dan kita makan sikit je. Jadi kita lihat persaudaraan, kekuatan, kekeluargaan dah ada kat situ. Sebab itu saya lahirkan karya Rewang ni. Saya letakkan satu rewang, satu ambeng yang cukup istimewa, di mana tengah-tengahnya ada ayam goreng. Jarang nasi ambeng tu ayam goreng kerana mahal buat begitu. Tapi ada orang kaya, orang yang cukup dermawan akan buat nasi ambeng seperti itu. Dan kalau dia bikin kenduri, mesti ramai orang datang kerana nasi ambeng ni special. Dan kerana ramainya orang datang, kerana ikhlasnya dia memberi makan dengan mewah, kan? Bila orang baca Fatihah ke, orang baca Kulhu ke, orang baca surah Yasin ke, baca surah Al-Mulk ke, semua baca bersungguh-sungguh lah, kan? Kalau amin pun amin kuat-kuat lah, kan? Cepat habis, cepat makan lah, kan? Sebegitu. Dan jadi kita lihat karya tu saya buat sungguh-sungguh juga. Saya pastikan setiap subjek yang saya lukis, contoh ikan kering, ikan goreng, sayur, lauk lemak, nasi dia, udang sambal dan sebagainya. Itulah salah satu karya yang saya cukup kecil. Selalunya saya bikin lukisan besar-besar. Tapi ini adalah satu cabaran. Bila Maya Maya Galeri mengusulkan bahawa karya tidak melebihi daripada 65 cm. Dan saya kena cari idea bagaimana untuk menghasilkan karya. Proses saya penting. Kerana saya biasa bikin besar-besar karya 4 tingkat, 2 meter, 3 meter dan sebagainya. Tapi ini adalah satu cabaran sebagai seorang seniman. Maksudnya kita tidak seharusnya menjadi terikat. Contohnya aku bikin lukisan besar, kenapa lukisan kecil aku kena bikin, kan? Tak boleh, aku tak nak masuk. Tapi bagi saya ini peluang yang cukup baik, kerana Rewang tu sesuatu yang dekat di hati saya. Jadi saya boleh tak boleh, saya mesti lahirkan sesuatu. Jadi bila saat teman saya, kebetulan teman saya seorang semalam, Encik Sani itu, dia jazz musician, datang. Satu kali datang ke studio saya, dia belajar melukis dengan saya. Dia bawa dulang copper tu dah berkerak, dah cukup kotor. Kata ini Rewang dah lebih daripada 45 tahun dekat dalam aku punya store. Aku pun tak tahu apa nak gunakan. Maybe you can do something. Jadi bila saya terpandang lukis dulang tu, jadi dapat saya punya ilham bagaimana untuk menghasilkan nasi ambeng secara 2D, tapi dia letakkan di dalam di dalam dulang tembaga. Dan di situ saya harap karya yang dibuat dengan bersungguh-sungguh dapat memberi semacam tenaga atau semacam kebaikan untuk generasi muda belajar dengan lebih tekun ataupun lebih teliti, memahami makna itu Rewang itu apa, dan kenapa ada berbagai bentuk presentasi terhadap Rewang. Contohnya saya mengeluarkan karya mengenai makanan. Saudara Saiman kita mengenai tentang kalimah-kalimah Allah, Rofi tentang orang seolah-olah bersilat. Kalau kita lihat Rewang dan silat memang cukup sinonim. Maksudnya orang kahwin ada silat dan sebagainya. Itu masing-masing, art is subjektif. Tapi bagi saya Rewang yang dihasilkan pada diri merupakan satu usaha yang berani. Tahniah sabas kepada Mas dan juga Jeff and Faj kerana berani mengenengahkan Rewang sebagai satu subjek. Kerana selalunya banyak society akan lebih meletakkan sesuatu yang agak contemporary. Contohnya kalau sesuatu yang contemporary, sesuatu yang lebih canggih itu lebih menarik. Tapi kalau kita lihat Rewang, dia agak sedikit ke belakang. Tapi kalau kita kaji dengan lebih dalam, ini bukan sesuatu yang cukup mencabar, dan setiap seniman harus mengambil inisiatif bagaimana dia menjadi positif untuk menghasilkan sesuatu yang agak ke belakang tapi dia ke depan. Itu saja. Terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih. Bang Jalal. Okay, I ada question lah. Your choice of colours is always very striking colours, kan? And do you wish to maintain that that consistency of colors?
Okay, yes. I will want to stay bright, young, bold, at all time. Because pada pendapat saya, jika kita berani bermain dengan warna, kita berani dengan warna-warna terang, dia memberi kita semacam kekuatan untuk terus berkarya. Kerana warna terang ni susah untuk digunakan, untuk dipalitkan ke arah kanvas dan sebagainya. Kerana pada saya lah, seniman-seniman yang berani dengan menggunakan berbagai warna, terutama sekali warna-warna yang terang, dia merupakan seniman-seniman yang berani menerima cabaran, yang berani mengenakan sesuatu yang baru, yang saya rasa mahu ke depan dalam menghasilkan setiap karya. Jadi saya harap teman-teman dan setiap penonton faham bagaimana saya rapat dengan warna-warna terang, dan warna terang nampaknya begitu berkawan rapat dengan saya dan menghasilkan banyak hasil-hasil yang positif. Jadi tak ada sebab untuk saya meninggalkan warna terang itu dari jiwa saya. Terima kasih.
Okay, one more question. Okay, you were talking about the past, your past experience with the concept of rewang kan. Sekarang ni dah jarang kita nampak orang merewang lah. Jadi what are your opinion on how else do we maintain or create this rewang activities, especially in a time of COVID where we cannot get together so much like compared to the past.
Okey, saya faham banyak kita yang dah jadi ibu bapa ni dalam masyarakat Melayu, kita terasa sangat risau tentang situasi yang semakin berubah terlalu cepat, sampai contohnya rewang dah jadi macam dinosaur. Orang dah tak faham apa itu rewang lagi. Anak-anak muda dah tak faham apa itu rewang lagi. Sekarang kerana dunia kapitalis, kalau kau nak aku cuci pinggan $10 satu jam. Kau nak aku angkat pinggan $30 satu jam. That kind of thing. Everything is money. Semuanya adalah duit. Di mana perkara ini tidak secara langsung dia telah mengelabui mata generasi kita. Apa yang dilihat semuanya duit. Kalau aku boleh bikin duit, aku bikin duit. Even dengan aku punya mak saudara, dengan aku punya pakcik, dengan aku punya adik, dengan aku punya bapa. Even anak-anak yang ada, okay, I go. I buy something for you. But don't forget, I need buy my Nike next month. Macam gitu. Jadi setiap perkara yang berlaku tu ada taruhan, which is tidak sihat. Jadi agak menakutkan. Dan kita tahu sekarang kenapa tidak ada lagi rewang, kerana tidak ada lagi masak di bawah void deck. Tidak ada lagi kualimah yang akan diuruskan di bawah blok. Okey, dia akan menjadi satu sejarah juga. Kahwin di bawah blok adalah sesuatu yang tidak wujud lagi. Sekarang semua event management. Okey, kita sewa di hotel dan sebagainya. Semua sewa. Dan kita datang bukan rewang untuk apa? Kita datang untuk melawar je. Itu je. Perkara rewang datang dia tinggal melawar, tunjukkan muka, cantikkan diri, gosip, membawang, that's all. Tapi apa yang ada di mana di situ hilangnya nilai bangsa Melayu. Itulah rewang yang kita tidak ada. Dan bila tidak adanya rewang, kita seolah-olah kita memutuskan banyak tali persaudaraan yang ada. Bila kita ke sana, kita akan berkumpul jumpa dengan teman-teman kita yang ada. Orang yang baru kita akan bercampur. Kerana masa tu singkat. Bila kerja kahwin tu cuma 2-3 jam je. Jadi kita tak ada masa untuk bertemu bual dengan orang yang baru, untuk berkenalan dengan seseorang yang baru. Kita perlukan masa. Jadi 2-3 hours kita lebih suka bermesra dengan saudara mara kita atau orang yang kita kenali. Jadi tidak ada peluang untuk mengenal satu kampung. Kalau kita rewang, kita kenal satu kampung. Cik nak makan apa? Cik nak air apa? Okey, apa lagi cik? Macam gitu. Dan waktu rewang juga kita berkenal jodoh. Makcik-pakcik cari jodoh anak-anak melalui rewang.
Kalau dulu ada rewang, ada kendarat. Sekarang kendarat dah tak ada.
Betul. Sebab itu semua ni dah tak ada lagi. Kerana sekarang ada kendarat, sama duit bayar je. Itulah yang jadi yang agak menakutkan lah kan. Tapi kita harap masyarakat, keluarga yang ada sekarang, terapkan semangat rewang, gotong royong yang ada ni di dalam keluarga kita dulu. Jadikan keluarga kita satu keluarga yang kenal rewang, yang kenal gotong royong. Istilah rewang dan sebagainya. Dan kita juga harus praktiskan sifat rewang itu dalam keluarga kita. Dari keluarga yang satu akan menjadi dua, ketiga, dan kita harap semua keluarga mempunyai sifat yang sama. Mana tahu satu hari kahwin di bawah blok dibenarkan lagi, kan? Dan semangat ini akan diteruskan. InsyaAllah, insyaAllah. Kita jangan putus asa, kita jangan give up. InsyaAllah, generasi muda yang akan datang, pemimpin baru yang akan datang, akan memperbaharui, akan memperkenalkan balik rewang dan juga gotong royong dalam hidup kita. Terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih. Okay, Rofi, hi, and okay, perhaps you want to talk about your 3 pieces of work and how do you think it fits into the exhibition of Rewang?
Maybe first of all, I start with talking a bit about the exhibition Rewang lah. So when it was announced that APAT intended to do a show titled Rewang, I thought that was interesting in a few ways. It was interesting in not just as a concept, but it was quite timely because of the COVID situation and us not seeing each other for a while, So the idea of Rewang coming together to do a show that I thought was timely, and as a concept, Rewang also was quite interesting. The fact that we chose a Malay word that is actually, as a concept, Rewang is quite unique to Malay culture. So I thought it was quite interesting also, where usually we would have contemporary. I mean, when you say contemporary, that's kind of like a more, I wouldn't say Western, but a more universal concept. But the idea of Rewang is almost unique to Malay culture. So that part I thought was quite interesting also. So I was keen. The works that I've done this series wasn't actually designed specifically for Rewang. It was done earlier, but I thought it was quite suitable in the sense that it's also talking about community. Although it's an online community, but the metaphors that I use, like Jalal was saying, the silat and all that, are things related to the community or the kampung spirit, like Jalal mentioned also. So the idea of this online community. And just so happened also that the titles of all the works in this series, I use Malay terms, just as a contrast to the concepts. The concepts are actually, and the execution is, if you look at it, is quite universal, not so rooted to any Malay kind of craft or style. But I wanted to use Malay terms to express those ideas. Especially the first one I did was Amok. So just the idea started off as that kind of like people in the online community expressing themselves, being angry at certain things. So I thought of that idea of mengamuk, someone who is mengamuk. So I wanted to actually choose, okay, what then should I title this? Then I did a bit of research and I found the term amok or running amok. But the term running amok is actually derived from the Malay term amok. Right? So if we say someone ngamuk satu kampung, is the idea of someone within a community that is not happy with something, trying to express himself. So then I thought that was quite interesting. So how an idea that is quite unique, so just like Rewang, an idea that is quite unique to Malay culture, that is then kind of like has some universal application. So that's why I titled the others, with Malay terms are like gasak. Gasak could be, if you use the word gasak in Silla, is you are contending with each other, you're fighting, but it also can be applied to things like debate, having conversation, kita bergasak idea, things like that. So, and again back to the idea of merawang, to think laterally, to community is not just about working together, but also getting different pendapat, opinions. So that idea of bergasak, where, it's my idea versus your idea, let's share ideas. And then the last one, Gerard, is where people get trapped. Because people can be, there are two sides, but there are people who are maybe neutrals, who are caught in the middle, who are terjerat or trapped in between. So I thought this series was quite suitable, for Rewang, like not just in terms of that idea of community and whatever, but in the sense that, expressing that idea of using Malay terms, which is something that I want to explore a bit more, but applied in a more universal, kind of like more universal ideas, concepts, and also execution.
Okay, thank you so much for that explanation. It's really wonderful that initially you didn't plan for the artwork to be to coincide with the term Rewang, but now that you have explained the whole terms that you use in Malay, and I was really intrigued by mengamuk satu kampung. That is really the term that we hardly use now, because we no longer live in the kampung, and thanks so much for that.
What Jalal was saying, like we don't do Rewang anymore because we can't do majlis bawah blok. There's this phenomena right now, and I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the Malay community is progressing. We are quite proud of the way we are progressing. But the flip side of that is, where we have majlis, we get catering. We don't do the Rewang thing because, and then there are things like people say, you do a wedding under the void deck, it's like a $50 wedding. But that's missing the point. To us, a wedding is not about, how much you spend or which hotel you have it in. It's about that kampung spirit. And that kampung spirit exists whether you live in kampung or HDB or whatever. There's some, I don't know how the younger generation feel, but somehow the kampung term has become almost like direndahkan. It's been, it becomes like a low thing. Whereas if we really appreciate the idea of kampung, especially the kampung spirit, and this kampung spirit again is used to rally the community, right? It's actually a positive thing. A kampung is not a village. A kampung is a mindset, it's a mentality, it's a feeling. So that's the thing lah. So yes, we progress. We wanna have a grand wedding, but we lose some of the things. And one of the things, sadly, is that concept of Rewang, because it's going to be very difficult for me to explain to my son and daughter what Rewang is, because until you're squatting in front of a big period of soap water washing dish with a towel, then you will never understand what Rewang is and what Rewang feels. To meet your cousins, to meet your friends, to talk, berbual, hey, relax for a while. Hey, here comes the next round of dirty dishes that we have to do. Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the towel was like a badge of honor. Yeah. Like you did something.
But they start smoking at the age of 12. Pakai sabuk
Okay, thank you so much, Rofi, for sharing your artwork. Okay, so perhaps we can get Rushdan, our younger member, to join us. Yeah, sorry.
So my name is Lily. I'm just a visitor, and I'm so happy that you have allowed me to sit in. Although the first few speakers, okay, so I'm Taiwanese, right? So this is my father would say this. It's like a duck listening to thunder, you know. So I understood very little, but I have a question. I thought I understood, but I don't. Okay, so Rewang. What does it exactly mean? I looked it up, and I thought it meant random. Random, right? Right. So when you say that, since I'm not Malay, right? When you say that this is, everybody gets it, you know, there's a sense, you know what it is. So can somebody explain what is it? Because then I understand your points better.
Mr. Simon was explaining just now. Rewang means to let your mind wander.
Okay.
To let your mind wander and gather. To let your mind wander, gather thoughts, get inspiration from different things. So that's one meaning. That's one meaning. There's another meaning. Merewang. That means for us, for your family, friends, members of your village to come together, to collaborate, to work together, to when there's a task at hand. Whether there's a task is like the most common event will be like a wedding, where you need to prepare a lot of food to serve your guests. Now, who's going to help you prepare all those food? There'll be a main cook, the chief, not the village chief, but the chief of the Rewang, the Majlis, right? But you need a lot of hands on deck. So everybody coming together to put your hands on deck, to serve, to help, that is also the term used, Merewang.
And no money
The
involved,
kampung
no
spirit,
money involved, no payment involved.
the kampung spirit is the idea of we will all chip in, we will all help. But Rewang specifically, the way we've adopted the term is that we will help and do things to make this event a success, to run smoothly. That is the meaning of Rewang, which is why APAT chose the term for this show, for all of us to chip in and come together in our different ways to create a show and make it a success.
I'll just offer one thing for you to look up, right? I did a project on Cambodia about the sand coming from Cambodia to fill up all the development sites in Singapore, which is really kind of not something that we in Singapore understand the larger kampong, which is our ASEAN kampong, right? So it's okay if it happens in Cambodia, but we're not too worried about it because we're just very focused on Singapore, right? So anyway, I did a project on that, and I always cook the dinner. And the thing that I cooked is this thing called amok curry. Yeah, so look it up. It's actually quite tasty, but I can see it takes a whole village to put it together. But it's amok fish, or amok prawns, or amok chicken. But in Cambodia, there's this thing called amok curry. And I thought that was the perfect thing to serve when we're talking about things going amok, right? You know, so amok is a great word, but I couldn't believe I found this recipe called amok curry. So look it up. It's you like it. It's very tasty.
You go crazy when you eat it, right?
Huh?
You go crazy when you eat it.
No, it's just very flavorful. It's wrapped in banana leaves. It's got coconut in it. It's steamed. It's just. I'm sure. Because, yeah, we're all really Polynesian, right? Okay, so I just have one last question. Who did the beetle nut? Is it you? Okay, so you're going to speak
Yeah.
later.
So Rushdan will be. Okay, so sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Rushdan will talk about his work more.
So, just to segue from what Rofi was sharing about this Rewang concept, right? I was looking at my family's experience with Rewang, and I talked to my mom and asked, like, why has Rewang kind of declined over the years? And her reason being because people have been more involved with their occupation, their work, and so the roles that people used to take up to perform in wedding has been delegated to outsourced to different vendors to cook, to clear the dishes, and also to put up the decorations. And for my work, I was curious about I've been curious about working with plants, and the past 2 months since I finished my NS, I had been having a hand at collecting and cultivating plants at home, which I intend to use them as part of an artwork process called chlorophyll printing, which I learned online through a workshop. And it's important for me to learn what the significance of the plant is. For this case is betel leaves, and how they were used as a I quote BiblioAsia in one of their publications, as a social lubricant amongst family members, and social gathering. And one of its appearance in Malay festivities is weddings, and they would be featured in a very lavish floral decoration, and both the bride and groom would exchange these things with each other. Yeah, and this plant was also significant because I think Jalal highlighted to me on the day of the opening that it also has a lot of medicinal values, hence why it was consumed by people back then a lot. But in the 1930s, as I've kind of read up when I was making this work, I learned that it has in the 1930s there was news about it having some side effects towards people, like throat cancer is one of them. And I believe that could be the reason why it has sort of declined in its appearance in Malay practices, and in this case weddings. So a lot of like what we see in weddings these days are merely just there for decoration. It's no longer something that's important to be there. And when I speak to my people within my age group and ask them, like, oh, do you, like my niece Sarah, who's also showing her work here, she said she didn't have this for her engagement, and yeah, it's quite surprising to me lah. Yeah. What else can I think? Yeah. So they're images. Yeah. So what are they are images of. Well, I wouldn't say it's specifically about my family, because it's more about a shift in cultural attitude towards these practices. But they are actually images of my parents' wedding. Yeah. That I kind of managed to record onto the leaf's surface. Yeah. So how I came about that is I print an image onto a transparency, and then I lay it over the leaf itself and expose it outdoors for a few hours. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps you can just share a bit about your choice of image. So each leaves have different images.
I wanted to approach this as some sort of like a triptych, but it didn't turn out that way. But the first image on the left is more of like the part where my dad left his home with his family to make their way to the bride's home, my mom. Yeah, and on the picture at the bottom is when they call it the angkat nikah, where they would yeah, and then the last The middle one is actually a picture. It's barely visible, but you can see parts of the image of my mom's hands and my dad's hand holding a crase. Yeah, and the last one is you could see parts of my mom's body, and holding a certificate where she would sign the certificate of what do you call it? Certificate of marriage. Yeah. And then the last, there's also photos, like extracts of the parts of their clothes, and the last, the leaf on the left is more of like a family portrait, of both my mom and dad's side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Rushdan, for sharing about your choice of, the leaves and the images. Okay, so perhaps, next, Ramli. Okay, about your work, genosis and too rapid, too fast, too fragile.
Thank you. Salam Rewangan, if there is such word. Okay, first of all, talking about the works, it comes in 3 parts, actually. These are 2 old works, not my latest works. But why I choose this over other type of works? Firstly, when we look at the word Rewang, the physical aspect of Rewang is about going through the motion, orang tuang dula, orang pas, serving on, kind of thing, right? A lot of physical actions involved in it. From the memotong, the work itself is not computerized work, right? It's the physical work. I use copier machine for the work. So the copier machine is my brush, the copier machine is my palette knife, the copier machine is my canvas, it's everything. So the process of doing it is really like Rewang, physical. You stretch it, you flip it, you see what the come out result, you ulur balik, you try lagi sekali, you work overlapping until you get the desired image that you wanted to. So in the physical form of it, yes, that is in my interpretation of the Rewang physical emotion of it. Number 2, the content. That one image is based on Dubai, and I choose that because that's how I relate Dubai to our Rewang thing. How is it relate? Because first of all, Dubai is a concoction of various races and people, and everybody pulling their resources together to build what they are now. Yet at the same time, they are developing too fast, too rapid, and it becomes fragile. Likewise, our Rewang thing, our society, our masyarakat, we are moving in a fast pace, too rapid in the development, that the social fabric in ourselves itself becomes fragile. Youngsters, like Rofi says, doesn't understand what's the word Rewang. Si Rawang says that we miss that camaraderie among us. So it becomes too rapid, too fast, too rapid, and too fragile. So there is a deeper underlining inside it, actually. So that's one. And the other one is genosis, about knowledge, as what Cik Rahman was saying, that Merewang is about wandering the mind and knowledge. And genosis comes from the word Greek, means knowledge. So if any generation to move forward beyond their shores, they need to seek knowledge. And that is itself Merewang. And that's why I purposely shown the sailboat of Berita Harian, made up from Berita Harian. It was folded up from the newspaper and collaged it inside. Again, the technique, for the second one, the technique is a bit different. It's used from, it started off with a copier machine with the overlapping to create the collage, and then print it out and then apply acrylic over it, and again apply collage. So in an essence, that is how I feel that it should be represented in my work for this particular show. About the show itself, Rewang, I think it's a fantastic idea. It has a lot of potential to move beyond what it is now. Just to throw some ideas, just something that just came out at the top of the mind. Like, we can have 2 types of shows. One is curated shows, one is non-curated shows. The non-curated shows can be opened up to anyone. Anyone, for that matter, anyone in Singapore, regardless of race, language, or religion. But the theme has to be Rewang. and see what's the interpretation. That's non-curated. The other one is curated, that means solely on the spirit of Rewangness, if there is such term. And even during the show itself, we can take it one step further by displaying those elements yang my brother Sadi mentioned that we miss so much, the tuala, the roko, the dulang. Have it displayed at the center of the table, have a parliamentary, everybody come down and feel free to sketch whatever they see down there. So this create a momentum, this create what do you call it? People to be more interested to what it's all about. Right? It could be a old photograph, it can be the dulang, it can be the tika mangkuang, whatever you can think of, just throw it on the table and invite the public to come. Feel free to come and sketch whatever you see. You want to sketch, you want to take photograph, do it. Then it becomes a community event, just like the word Rewang by itself, a community event. That answers your question just now. It's a community camaraderie actually. Because event is one thing, but camaraderie is another thing, because it takes the bonding to the next level. This is what we, the Malay community, was missing all along when we lost the village, when we no longer have these void deck marriages, that kind of thing. So this is what we are missing, and our generation, we call it the baby boomers. We are born in the 60s, we are able to cross over between the traditional way of living to the digital age of living. So we are the best person to bring this forward to the next generation. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you. I speak so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so perhaps next, Jeffrey, you can talk about your work.
More questions for him?
More questions later. I think he answered most of the first.
Good evening. Selamat petang. Okay, you know, I did nak cerita sikit lah. Okay, I will speak in both languages. Kita campur sikit kan. So, you know, when we were talking together, kan. So kita fikir-fikir, sudah because of the pandemic and all that, macam gian kan. Apart, I think we need to do a show. Tapi waktu suntuk, it's very short time. Very short time, and we were thinking, cannot do ni, you know. We have a short time, short period, no funding, you know. So fikir-fikir, okay, let's do something lah, you know. Let's do something. We'll do a show, and what should it be? Is it? You know, we are thinking, okay. So I was flipping through. Mas at that time was doing her masters in art history, and nampak gambar-gambar apart. I saw the old photos. I went through the apart chronicles and all that. I take a look at everything and see what's happening and that. Then I was also involved in the other associations, you know. So I was thinking that, I think in a very short time, we got to put all hands on deck lah. All hands on deck. So what is the thema? Kita nak fikir tema, what's the theme? So looking at the situation, looking at the things that's happening, and looking at the short time of frame, and I recall this word Rewang. So initially we had a few words, we came out. Then I said, I think Rewang is a good word lah, right? It creates a catalyst. It perks you up, you know, and it's quite interesting word it is mentioned, right? And it's something relating to our Malay culture, and it's that spirit that we macam gian we long for that spirit of Rewang in a way lah. Maybe especially for my generation. Maybe your generation is a little bit different, right? We talk about kampung, right? Yeah, spirit of Rewang, kampung. People loosely use the word gotong royong. But in the concept of Rewang, it's more towards festivities, for example, like weddings and celebration lah, in that sense, right? And the spirit of Rewang, you have a lot of, what do you call it, there's a lot of communication, relationship, bonding, right? And that spirit I long for, because I grew up in a kampung. I grew up in Kampung Eunos, right? That time Kampung Eunos was still, you know, all the fruits named Jalan ini, Jalan itu, Jalan Eunos. So I grew up in off Jalan Eunos. It's called Kampung Eunos, also part of Geylang also. And we don't have relatives, and my parents and ourselves, and we have Bapa Angkat and all that, and they all live within dekat kampung. So what happens is that kalau kita ada keramaian, when we have a festivity, for example, even sunat, circumcision, yeah, we don't call catering and all that. Makcik ni, she can cook, right? Okay, these relatives, they can help to gather the things, put things together. Okay, somebody can help to do the serving, for example, right? So it was that kind of bonding and relationship that we had once before, and also in weddings, for example. So coming back to weddings, it teringat pula. I recall that the last Rewang that I really experienced was back in my hometown. Yeah, in West Sumatra. Now, there's no difference. West Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, generally we have the same spirited kind of a relationship, whether in a kampung setting or not, you see. Yeah. So it was back then a couple of years, and kebetulan ada wedding and all that wedding, and I felt that spirit. I'm having goose pimple. That spirit of Rewang, when the not just the kampung people, the relatives, everybody comes together. In a Singapore setting, yes, we have different sections and towels and all that, right? In kind of a kampung setting where the relatives come on board, and they volunteer themselves, right? One section will be cutting the onions and the bawang and all that. One section will be, sometimes the guys will be slaughtering the kambing, and then they will cut the meat and everything, get ready. And then there will be one section doing the so-called preparing the tables and all that. And then there will be another section of the family section. My aunties, my cousins and all that, tukang ini serving and all that. Yeah, so it's kind of that spirited that I recall. And dan tak sengaja tu tergambar my hometown. That's why I painted Rumah Chaniago. Rumah Chaniago is my late grandfather's name, coincidentally the Chaniago clan. And that's where my last experience of Rewang was lah. Yeah, that feeling I translated in a black and white lah. I nak warna kan, I want to put colors to it, but somehow or other the building has gone already, so demolished, and to put it in a kind of a not so say memorial state, but something to remember, and I did it in black and white lah. And where I did it spontaneous. I did my own pouring method. And I'm trying to throw my emotions down to that particular moment, time and space in that particular building that I experienced before lah. Memang the thing of longing, memang rindu lah, right? So coming back to the exhibition. So in a short span of time, with limited resources and everything, the term Rewang came to mind. I said, yes, I think this is the word. This is the word we can use. I think it's about time that we come together. It's also timely with the pandemic and all that lah. And Alhamdulillah, and very grateful. Everybody put in their effort, right? And put in a very good show. I think I'm very happy. The response was very good, right? And the spirit of Rewang is there. If you notice that whether it's just not weddings and festivities, the spirit of Rewang is actually back to the community. It's back to the community. Today, in the past, kampung. We live in a kampung, Serani in front, Indian behind, China and everything, whether relatives are around, right? The relationship and the communal kind of thing is very, very, very close. Today, unfortunately, it's a forced kampung, In fact, we were taught, it's terbalik, In the past, we live in a place, in an environment where we know people, we know when to help, we know when to chip in and all that. But today, we were taught, what is a kampung? Let's live in a kampung. Oh, this is a kampung, right? So the narrative is different. It's somehow or other that the spirited, yes, the kampung spirited is, it's something that is good for the community. But today, it's a bit challenging, right? Yeah. And challenging the soul so that in today's context of the festivities and wedding, like what Bang Jalan said, no more. We cater the food. What else to do, right? Serving and everything done. Sometimes even the servings are done also by the caterer themselves. So everything lock, stock, barrel. just to share with you when we got married. So, I mean, it was interesting because a bit of spirited Rewang, because the cook is a friend and they will do something for us and related to the mom. And my brothers and sisters were doing the serving, including her brothers and sisters. And some section, the smaller ones will be doing the cleaning and all that. So there's a little bit, and we had it in the house. We didn't have it. So that was one of the memories, interesting memories. Anyway, okay, that's still, I'm very grateful that we come together, together today. And yes, we hear you, the Rewang. Tadi a few friends came down and they said, hey, Rewang season 2. I said, okay, we will look into it, inshallah, we look into it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bang Jeff. So, yeah, perhaps Kak Mas, you want to talk about your work on Pesta and how it coincides with Rewang here.
Okay, salam semua. Yeah, for my works, I've renamed it Pesta. The works are not new. They are done. They were done a few years ago. It was part of another show. It was a series. So I mean, putting this show together, it takes up the time and all that. As much as I wanted to start some new works, but come to the last point that I have to decide. I don't have the time to create some new ones as much as I wanted to. But why I chose these works for this exhibition, and I renamed it Pesta. I mean, this set of 4 works, it's colourful, and I'm known to. I mean, people recognize my works as using colours to, as an expression of your emotions, of moods, and all that. So I thought, having a set of works that have various colours and it's quite vibrant, I would say. Some people have seen it. So I thought it's quite relevant for this show. And Pesta, of course, is celebration. It's celebration that we have missed, this past year or so. Celebration of not just occasions or events, but of coming together, of friendship, of kinship, of whether renewing old ties or whether making new friendships. So I thought that was quite apt for this show. And I mean, as much as we miss all these occasions and all that, I felt that the colors that I've chosen adds a bit of positivity, and hopefully one day we're able to experience these events again. I mean, it's sad to sometimes talk about these events like the good old days. It's like, oh, when is it going to come back again? But maybe that is why, I mean, during this period we tend to treasure that more, and things that we used to take for granted. I mean, I felt that no choice but to move forward. So that's basically why the works that I've chosen for this show. Yeah, so that's basically it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So perhaps your works. I'll just talk a bit about my work. So yeah, my work, there's 2. So Be With You in Spirit on the left side and the right side, Sampai Kita Jumpa Lagi. So in Malay it means till we meet again. The choice of work really respond to what we experiencing right now. Not exactly, we all miss this spirit of coming together, the communal sense of, meeting up and all that. So usually when in the past, before the pre-COVID days, when we talk about meeting up together, but if we can't do that, what we say is, I can't be there with you, I can't attend the event, but I'll be with you in spirit. So that term right now, when we use it, it feels even more sad lah, like now is this is the word that we will be hearing a lot lah. So which is why when I thought of how it responds to the term to this exhibition. I think this is menusuk kalbu kata orang tu. So yeah, emotionally, yeah, we all long for meetups lah. Ada taman. So yeah, and usually I do work on batik, but now it's more. I try to. The technique is on laser pointer and long exposure technique, using this photographic way of long exposure, and that the work behind is actually the batik painting. So I merge them together, and yeah, it's something that I've not done for some time because I've always been doing batik, and I thought, yeah, this is a good time to do something new for Rewang. So yeah, that's a bit about my work lah. So now we come to the Q&A session. Yeah, maybe a Q&A session if there's any questions from the guests. Yeah. If you have any questions, yeah. Or comments. Yeah.
Okay. I just was invited at last moment to come here, but after all, I'm thinking that, yeah, why not? After all, I haven't come here, right, to observe all the painting. But this time that I came, I'm quite happy and I'm very surprised that our new generation or new members, the new members produce very, very good work. It's not like, say, that's what we want actually. Actually, APAT should have more improvement in their work. Even though we have our style, for example, right? My technique like this. But we try to improvise into a new way of transform the media into part of a modern days of people thinking now, right? That is what I'm thinking. So actually, when I want to come here earlier, but because my health is not so good, and I have to go for operation or what, I don't know, regarding about my eye. Only I see at the Facebook, so I'm surprised. Hey, who is this person? And who this person who do this one? So that make me want to come here and see. And I see that it's a very, very good, especially your work, right? And here, right, installation work. And also, of course, for example, like say, Jalal work, all right? That also remind me, I hope that everybody would come the clay festival, right? I think Ahmad Abu Bakar is there, and I only contribute one work, right? After all, the sale of the artwork is all go to charity, 100%. So I just submit that because the thing that I joined this clay exhibition because the clay, it came from Holland Village. So they call it the red clay, right? It came from the Holland Village at the Lorong Mambong. And I used to stay there. So that is why I feel interested to collect the clay and do it, all right? So in my work, this I just talk about my work. Now, my work there, I just make a, like Jalal, but what is that? We call it idang. For nasi ambeng, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but I never put, like Jalal put the chicken or like this. But I never put that. I just make a sketch in the idang of the Masjid Kampung Holland, right? The sketch of Masjid Kampung Holland, where the building actually at the seat of now they demolish it, so it's gone. So that is why I draw the most, because actually that area when they demolish it is only that the most only is very what to say, that the heritage is there, but the rest is only car park and the housing board. I mean HDB flat lah. But the big area is only the car park and the mosque is there. So because it really missed me also, because when I'm staying at opposite side Jalan Kelabu Asap, so the word also is very funny, the jalan name, right? So I always go to Lorong Mambung, to the mosque there, even Ramadan or whatever lah, all right? And then there's a shop who's selling nasi padang, right? Mustajab, yeah, Mustajab restaurant. So that is why it remind me of the mosque. And the mosque also is for those who converted, right? Before Muslim converted, the place is not at Darul Akram, it's not at the Geylang, at Holland Village also. So they use the mosque for praying there at Kampung Holland, Kampung Holland Mosque.
This is the first one. So you kind of set the tone, right? That this is Rewang.
Yeah.
The question is, the next one, is it again strictly Rewang, or is there a slightly different angle of Rewang or whatever? That is the part you kind of like need to think about lah. And also, like, if you want to attract the younger artists, the good thing about something like Rewang is that it's a very curated show, as opposed to contemporary, where it's just whatever you're doing right now, you just show, right? So maybe, I don't know, maybe the younger artists, they need something that's a bit more curated to give them, like, was this a good challenge for you that this Rewang was given as a theme?
Well, yeah, it is definitely. I think this work especially was a good start for me to show what I've been working with lah. And I had been working with other plants before working with bitter leaf specifically. One of it was banana leaf, and the other one is alocasia. But this specific show, like titled Rewang, which is about a communal gathering, helped me into thinking about this work. Yeah. So I feel for a future iteration of this show, it would be good to have like a direction. I won't say like curated wise, but like it's more to help to enable the younger ones to think about how they can contribute to the overall message of the team. Yeah. I think that's all for me. Yeah.
Just a quick to add on. I think this Rewang, right? That spirited Rewang, kalau kita fikirkan mendalam, for example, in associations, right? You don't have Rewang, the associations will fall. True or not? Because Rewang, in the spirit of Rewang, kita memberi waktu, badan, our time and effort into it. So if you ask me deeply why we chose Rewang, is that we need to catalyst back again. Kan? That spirit of Rewang will help our association especially to move forward. And the term Rewang is aptly a Malay word, right? It's a Malay word. Now, for example, I tell you, Pak Idris, it's a relationship, right? Now, spirit of Rewang also relationship. It's just not communal, it's also family. It's also that kind of helping out each other, that kind of guidance, right? So I encourage, like what you say, Bang, correct. I encourage the young to meet the old and the old to meet, and not need to meet, but to share. Go TikTok ke apa, okay? Yeah, fine, good, you know. And even the young, don't be afraid to talk to the elderly, I mean to the senior ones, don't be afraid. And the senior ones, I think, I hope the senior ones also will approach the young fellas. Kadang young fellas segan. Mungkin dia a bit like you. I know you segan. I got to approach you many times to ask you about this chlorophyll thing, right? Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. For this Rewang, I'm happy, right? I thought Pak Idris was the one that challenged me. Jeff, what, black and white? So, Pak Idris? Yeah, a senior. So I said, okay, fine. I tested black and white, right? Yes.
The handwork of,
Yeah.
also there will be the seniors one like
Yeah. Jadi, yeah.
I mean, the process of Rewang, there are some of our youngsters at the end become chef. Because they start cutting the onions, cutting the chicken, learn how to cook curry, how to cook biryani from there, you know. So in the process of Rewang, you know, you learn something from everyone, you know, from the youngsters to the elders, you know. So that's the spirit, you see. So then it gives a very positive result and make everyone a better person, you know. That's it, done?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Okay,
closing.
last words from you. So you do the closing.
Okay, before we close, I mean, I'm happy with this discussion. I think it has brought a lot of good things, suggestions, advice, and probably it's like the first time we ever hear anybody talk in a long time, you know. And I think it's quite important, and that was one of the reason kenapa kita nak record, you know, so that we will record it, and later on, you know, when it's ready, we go through the edits and we are able to share, and you can look at, you know, what we've talked about, and something for even those outside APAT too, you know, like, oh, so they do have, you know, these sessions, you know. So, and this exchanging of ideas, this bergasak thing, yes, it is so important. And moving forward, and APAT reaching 60 years next year, and yeah, next year, you know, it turns 60, and you know, we are looking back, and we're also moving forward. So so thank you for coming today, and I think it's been very beneficial, and hopefully we will continue this Rewangness and moving forward. Thank you so much.